Thank you very much. Taking a look at the testimony, I appreciate all of you being here today. We do see that there is an increase in AA and HPI recruitment. Hawaii, where I represent, is actually one of the hotspots historically for recruitment, where you have a significant number coming from our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander communities. Now, according to the military's Workplace Equal Opportunity Survey from 2017, almost a quarter of Asian American servicemen reported racial or ethnic harassment or discrimination. My question to you is, during the pandemic, our country witnessed a significant rise in AAPI hate and discrimination incidences. Has there been an updated survey done post-pandemic that has tracked to see if this is the same case with our military servicemen and women?
The discrimination that's been taking place amongst our AAPI community throughout the country because of the COVID pandemic was just unacceptable and very unfortunate. But I will tell you, I have not received, since I've been the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, since I've been the Undersecretary for Personnel Readiness, I have not come across any cases within the Department of Defense where I've seen any cases of discrimination based on that.
Okay, well, sir, it was more than unfortunate. We're talking about lives being in danger. We're talking about discrimination and hate racism in our country. And in fact, if in 2017, before the pandemic, when we were talking about COVID and we had things like Kung Flu being flung out from the highest offices of this country, you already had 1 in 4 service members of color of AAPI background saying that they felt intimidated, felt discrimination. I can only imagine that would have increased. So are you telling me that you have never heard of any incidences of AAPI hate, discrimination taking place in the last 2.5 years when we have literally seen people beaten in our streets?
If you're talking in general across the United States,
I'm
yes,
talking about within the service.
Within the Department of the Military, I have not come across, or none have been open to me, where people have been discriminated or put in a situation to where they
clearly you folks have not updated the survey. I would humbly ask that if we did the survey in 2017 and we saw a trend where 1 in 4 members felt discrimination at this time, felt ethnic harassment, then I would guess that we should be doing a follow-up survey disaggregated by ethnicity so we can see across the board where is discrimination and harassment taking place? What are we doing to actually address this? I want to move on to my next question, still somewhat related. As we focus our attention now on strategic competition with China, combating anti-AA and HPI hate, bias, discrimination, and xenophobia is not just going to be about protecting the civil rights of our people. It's also going to be a strategic imperative. Now, DEI initiatives help combat anti-AA and HPI hate and discrimination and should be creating a welcoming and attractive environment that can draw the best talent and workforce to the department and enhance our competitive edge with China. We need people that have critical language and cultural understanding to meet the demands in this vastly diverse Indo-Pacific region, right on the edge of my district, and that includes China, because competition is not just about the assets and capabilities we can field, but also, more importantly, the strategies and doctrines we employ. To succeed in that requires the empathy to understand both the culture and the philosophy that define the way our strategic competitors think and perceive the world. It's hard to be able to do that and acquire that without strong AAPI representation in our military and especially in its senior leadership. We know that this works. One only has to look back to World War II. My grandfather was in the military intelligence service. Thanks to these brave men, we know for a fact that the war was shortened and lives were saved. And yet we also know that for these AA and HPI men, when they came home, many of them came home to racism, discrimination, hate. To the panel today, now as we look forward to having to engage critically with strategic competition with China, how are we going to learn from the mistakes of the past? And how are we going to better protect and foster a positive environment that will allow us to recruit and retain and take care of the civil rights of our AA and HPI servicemen and civilian personnel?
Ma'am, we want to make sure the environment is inclusive for all of our service members and all those that want to join the service, whether they're AAPI or any racial or ethnic background. You know, my family's a melting pot. I have an aunt that's Chinese. I have cousins that are Chinese. One of my first department heads when I was in the U.S. Navy was Filipino. I had the pleasure of working with many of them throughout, was serving in the United States Navy and in the armed forces. So making sure that they're all treated fairly and everybody is treated fairly is a big thing, and we need to do better at recruiting
I agree
them
we need
and
to do better,
promoting
sir.
them.
My time's about to yield, and I appreciate, yes, I hope you treat every serviceman and woman like it was your family, your friend that you were taking a look in. I can tell you right now, if we have no data to even say whether or not they
woman's
face
time has
discrimination, then we're not taking care of them like we would our own loved ones.
Yield
Thank you.
5
Yield
minutes.
back.
Representative